Now, quite famously, the Fire the Liar campaign from One Nation was one that was embraced by tens of thousands of people around the country. It has raised more than $5 million because the reality is there's form here. Because, of course, remember what the Prime Minister promised before the last election?
Can you rule out any changes to negative gearing and capital gains tax?
Yes. How hard is it for the 50th time?
Yet, of course, he did exactly that. But apparently the get-out-of-jail-free card was, well, more young voters will forgive us and they'll vote for us, and if the young voters vote for us and the old voters don't, who cares? We'll just win anyway, which is why this is what we had to put up with.
In this video, you are about to discover how Australia's political machine turned the simple act of telling the truth into an extreme sport where the rules are made up and the facts do not matter. I have a quick favour to ask before we dive into the madness. If you aren't subscribed to the channel yet, please take a second to hit that subscribe button and tap the notifications bell icon right now. Have you done that? Thank you so much. Now let us continue.
This is a change in our policy.
When you say you changed your position, is that a concession that you lied?
That's a statement of fact that we have changed our position. Changing our position.
But lying is nothing new to this government, nothing new to this Prime Minister, nothing new to the political machine in the Labor Party that stands behind him. Remember when Pauline Hanson addressed the National Press Club, the word monoculture became a subject for too many days, but we had Labor ministers outright lying about what Pauline Hanson had said, about the idea that the national language, English, is the one that should be spoken in public spaces. That, of course, led to this lie from the Small Business Minister.
Hanson spoke a lot about what she wants to take away from people. She wants to take away the ability of the tetas and the nonnas and the yayas to speak, their language to their grandchildren.
An absolute lie. Well, it seems there's another version of this. In the past couple of days, there's been a conversation that One Nation has been floating that in extreme financial distress that you should be able to get access to superannuation. Because, of course, it's not the government's money, it's your money. Remember, it is a percentage on top of your wage, the cumulative effect for you to draw down once you hit the retirement age. As Barnaby Joyce said at the time.
And I think one of the hardships people have is if they can't feed themselves because of the cost of living. And another hardship is if they don't have a house and they put out in the street and they're living in a car. Surely it's their money and we should give a little bit more respect about what they can do with their own money.
Well, this is the latest lie, like the one before the election, like the one after the election, and now the one this week about this. Text messages have supposedly gone out on the behalf of the Labor Party. Its apparent author, or at least in his name, is Jim Chalmers. The text messages read, "It's Jim Chalmers here. I'm only texting supporters I know we can count on. This is a fundraising drive. So I'll be direct. Andrew Bragg wants to scrap your super and Pauline Hanson's backing him. Neither of those things are true. Labor built super. I won't let them tear it down." And then the plead for $41 in donations. I will doubt that they'll get $5 million out of this. A quick response has come from Pauline Hanson. We learn about the text message via social media, and it says, "It's Pauline Hanson here. Jim Chalmers is full of shit. One Nation doesn't support scrapping super. We just think that people should be able to use their super when in financial distress instead of losing their home. Labor would rather you end up homeless. We don't expect you to chip in to our campaign to do the right thing by Aussie families. Just vote One Nation." And a reference to Fire the Liar, which again is still there for people to donate to. Now, in fairness, as we discussed last night, there is potential access to superannuation for people under extreme financial distress, and apparently more than $1 billion has been accessed in the past 12 months. But they're going to pretend that they're going to ban you from what you talk at home. They're going to pretend that they're going to take away the legal requirement for superannuation. But of course, you should re-elect them despite the fact that they promised on 50 occasions not to do exactly what they have.
You see, lying in Canberra hardly breaks news, but lately the Albanese government and the broader Labor frontbench have elevated narrative spinning to an absolute art form. Enter One Nation's famous Fire the Liar campaign, a movement that hit such a raw nerve across the nation that it managed to scoop up over $5 million in grassroots donations. That is not just a modest protest, that is an almighty pile of cold hard cash fueled by sheer public exhaustion. Which brings us directly to the infamous broken promise that ignited this entire blaze. Cast your mind back to the lead-up to the election. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese went on record, by some counts over 50 separate times, promising up and down that negative gearing and capital gains tax settings were completely off the table. Fast forward through the political wash cycle and what do we get? A classic Canberra manoeuvre, an unannounced pivot, confirmed by ministers and then swiftly rebranded. Suddenly, breaking an ironclad election pledge 50 times over is not considered untruthful at all. It's just a routine change in policy settings. Now, if you think that was just a rare slip-up, the broader pattern of political rhetoric tells a very different story. Take a look at how Labor ministers handled Senator Pauline Hanson's speech at the National Press Club regarding cultural integration. Rather than engaging with the actual text, the opposition machine immediately went to work attributing fabricated positions. We even saw a small business minister publicly claiming Hanson wanted to outlaw grandmothers, or tetters, nanas and yayas, from speaking their native languages to their own grandchildren in public parks. It was an absolute, undisputed fiction, designed purely for instant outrage. That brings us to the latest battleground tearing up the headlines, the high-stakes brawl over your superannuation. One Nation put forward a measure aimed at allowing Australians facing extreme financial distress, think imminent homelessness or struggling to buy basic groceries, to access their own savings. Barnaby Joyce backed the core principle, pointing out the obvious: in a grinding cost of living crisis, super is your money, not the Treasurer's piggy bank. Naturally, the political counterattack was swift and aggressive. An SMS campaign sent out under Treasurer Chalmers' banner claiming Liberal Senator Andrew Bragg was actively plotting to scrap your super, allegedly backed by Hanson, before conveniently asking for a $41 donation to stop them. The only small hiccup, it was entirely untrue. Bragg never proposed scrapping super, and One Nation only advocated for hardship access. Hanson fired back with her own text campaign, pointing out that Labor would apparently prefer folks face homelessness than touch their own savings, before wrapping it all up with another plug for the Fire the Liar Fund. Think of Australian political discourse like a high-stakes auction where politicians are not selling real estate but selling reality itself to the highest bidder, and every time the gavel falls, the truth gets marked down by 50%. Here's the ultimate punchline. Severe hardship access to superannuation already exists under current law, with over $1 billion accessed by desperate families in the past 12 months alone. Both sides of the aisle know this, yet both continue to warp the rules to manufacture moral panic and raise cash. I appreciate you taking time to watch this. Stay safe and let us make this nation a better place. Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments below.